And we're recording this now so that you can always refer back to it whenever you want. So, four ways to get your buyer agency fee paid. Um, Today, we're going to discuss your buyer agency compensation. I know when you meet with new buyers, um, that is a huge topic right now. So, um, I've heard in talking to some realtors that if some buyers don't have the extra cash for that compensation, and let's say worst case scenario, the seller isn't going to pay it, then there might be potential for them not to even go after that home if they don't have the extra cash. So we're here to come up with some creative ways to overcome that objection and be able to get just about everyone into the property that they want to look at, even if the seller doesn't offer compensation on the co-broking side, the old co-broking side. So we're going to discuss number one, seller paid comp, kind of like the old days, buyer paid comp, adding the comp to the purchase price. So those three are the kind of the most common options. And then the fourth option is financing the comp into the loan amount. And we're going to go over some scenarios on what the cost of that would be and the impact to your buyers. So buyer agency comp. So number one, this is what you normally see. So this is the old way they used to do it, and they still do it now. And it's kind of probably the most common way. When you make an offer, you may not ask the seller's agent what what they're willing to pay on your end for the buyer's agent fee. And then they'll tell you, or they may leave it vague, and you can write it right into the purchase and sale. So it's kind of the old way when the seller comes out of the seller's proceeds, and your comp's paid that way. So seller paid compensation in this scenario, we're going to start at a sales price of 500,000. Let's say they're putting 20% down at an interest rate of 6.75 for a 30-year loan. Their monthly payment for principal and interest, we included some taxes and insurance to kind of give you a total overall payment, is about 3,052.72, and their cash close is 100,000 for the down payment plus 11,275 for closing costs. Potentially, if it's in New Hampshire, there's going to be more transfer stamps. Closing costs might be a little bit more. Maine, the transfer stamps are less. So we're just estimating this scenario with closing costs of 11,275. So in this scenario, the seller is willing to pay the agency compensation of 3%. So everything's all good, and just like the old days, you're good to go. So option two, the seller says absolutely not. The buyer's on their own, and the buyers always have the option of coming up with that 3% on their own. So in that scenario, everything stays the same sales price, same loan amount, same monthly payment. Just your cash to close is $15,000 higher. So that's the only difference. The cash to close increases by 15,000. It comes directly out of the buyer's pocket. And this might be the case also, well, that first scenario, if the seller only pays 2%, yours is 3%, then they would have to come up with the difference. This would be that scenario where they're coming up with the difference out of the pocket. So other options that we have, adding the buyer agency fee to the purchase price. So here in this scenario, we're going to take that full 15,000. We're going to add it to the purchase price, and then the buyer can take 80% of the new purchase price at 6.75. Their payment's now 31.44, and their cash to close is just a little bit higher because they're taking 80% of 515 instead of 500,000. So it's an extra $12,000. I'm sorry, it's only an extra couple $1,000, 20% of that 15,000. So $3,000 extra, where you see the cash to close at the bottom of 114,395. So this scenario, you just have to be a little careful about. It's kind of like asking for seller concessions, where you increase the sales price, have the seller pay seller concessions, and the seller still nets that 515 with seller concessions. So this scenario, we're kind of doing the same thing, except it's adding it to the loan amount, and the buyers are just coming up with that extra in the down payment. Option four. Oh, actually, let's compare before we go to option four. We've got seller paid in that first scenario, buyer paid in the second scenario. And again, those payments are essentially the same. The cash to close is $15,000 more. And then added to the purchase price. So it'll increase the purchase price. It'll increase your closing costs a little bit. But let's say if there are transfer stamps slightly, your title insurance will be slightly higher. The rest of the closing costs will be the same. And then your down payment's a little bit higher. So because your loan amount's $12,000 higher, 80% of that extra 15,000, your loan amount is going to be higher, so your monthly payment is going to be higher, 3144. So it increases your monthly payment by about 91.58, so about $92. And that's one way that the buyer can finance in that extra 15,000. So essentially, it's just like seller concessions, adding it to the sales price and having the adding it to the loan amount, increasing it through the loan amount, increasing your monthly payment. And then this option should be like one of the best options for you. So the fourth option, which you might not have thought about, which is kind of what we're all here to talk about, because the other three are pretty commonly known, would be adding the financing fee to the loan amount, but not increasing the sales price. So in this scenario, the seller's still going to net their $500,000. Instead of coming in with $100,000 for the down payment, you're going to come in with $85,000 for the down payment, which brings your loan to value at 83%, and that frees up $15,000 to pay that 3% agency fee. So they're still coming in with a total of $100,000. They're just decreasing the loan amount, and when you do that, you're over 80%. So what happens is to make up for that, you can utilize mortgage insurance. So mortgage insurance, most agents and most buyers are used to the monthly mortgage insurance, where you just add the monthly mortgage insurance to your monthly payment, and you can come up with less cash to close. So there's that option. So the first column there, where your monthly payment is $31.84 that's the loan amount of $415,000 at an 83% loan to value at 6.75 plus your taxes and insurance. And then your cash to close is essentially the same because nothing really changes. Your sales price is the same. Your loan amount is slightly higher. So your cash to close is essentially the same. Because again, that 15,000 is part of your down payment now. So, and then that's the monthly mortgage insurance. The second column to the right under the monthly payment and the cash to close is the one-time mortgage insurance. So with the one-time mortgage insurance, your cash to close increases by $1,660, but there's no monthly mortgage insurance. So your monthly mortgage insurance in the first scenario is only about $38.24 a month. That's included in that payment. Here, you don't pay any monthly mortgage insurance, but your cash to close is $1,660 because it's a one-time mortgage insurance fee. So again, no monthly mortgage insurance, but a one-time one-time upfront fee. And you can actually add that fee into your loan amount if you wanted to. And it would increase your payments about $7 per thousand right now, up at the current interest rates. It's a little bit less than that, but at $7 per thousand, it'll increase your payment about 14, 15, actually about $12, $13 a month there. So you don't even have to come up with that extra $1,660 if you didn't want to. You can finance it in there. One thing to keep in, are there any questions before you go any further? I'm kind of rambling on here.
Arlene has one.
Oh, yeah, Arlene.
All right. So if someone opted not to pay the one-time MI, how long is the 3824 in place? Is it until they have,
Yeah, it's a good question. We get that a lot is when can I drop mortgage insurance, right? So mortgage insurance will automatically be dropped in every loan when you hit the 78% loan to value mark.
78.
So, in this scenario, you're already only at 83%. So through your normal payments and through your normal principal reductions each month, if you get down to 78%, then the lender and the servicer should drop that mortgage insurance. You can always go back and request to drop mortgage insurance anytime you want. So, a year down the road, or 2 years down the road, if, even a year down the road, if prices appreciate at 5%, then you'll be below that 80% loan to value. You can request to have your mortgage insurance dropped. You would talk to your servicer, and they'll send you a form to fill out. You may need to be required to show an appraisal on the property to show what the current value is. And as long as you've been making your payments on time for the last 12 months, which is what mortgage insurance is for, it kicks in should you default on the loan. So as long as you're current on your mortgage and you've been making your payments on time, then they should drop the mortgage insurance down the road. So
So,
if you,
yeah, I
sorry,
just did a quick calculation. So in this particular scenario, someone would be paying a little over 3.5 years to break even for that 1660.
yeah, if you took that 1660 and divided it by the 3824, is that what you did?
Yes.
It's 43, yep, 43.4 payments.
Yeah.
So, right. So if you think you can drop that mortgage insurance, then that would be the better option to do that as opposed to paying the one time, unless you just wanted a lower monthly payment, because your payment would only be about $25 more if you just added that to your loan amount and then just reduce it that way.
Got it.
Does that
Thanks.
make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So one other item to look at would be that one-time mortgage insurance or the monthly mortgage insurance. Mortgage insurance in general runs in 5% increments. So you actually have another 2% because your loan to value in this scenario is only 83%. So you have another 2% you could actually add into your loan amount if you wanted to cover any of these costs, and reduce your down payment, and have that same mortgage insurance factor. Now your loan amount will be a little bit higher, so your monthly mortgage insurance will be slightly higher, and that one-time premium would be slightly higher. But if you wanted to save some money, and save an extra 2% or $10,000, you could make your loan amount 425, have an 85% loan to value, and then still run these same numbers. So I have a lot of borrowers who have a lot of money and could put 20% down, but they don't want to right now because the mortgage insurance is so cheap right now, especially if you have a really good credit score. The mortgage insurance with 10% down might be a factor of 0.25. So on a $400,000 loan, it's only $1,000 for the year, so it might be $83 a month. And they'd rather have that extra $50,000 because they can make a lot more than $83 a month with that extra $50,000. So it's one thing to look at with buyers. I'll always go through and give them the options of no mortgage insurance if they have the 20% to put down, and then also what the payments would be with mortgage insurance. And they might want to take that extra money and maybe pay off a debt, pay off a student loan, pay off a car payment that's $600 a month, and it has $20,000 left on the balance. In that scenario, they could take that 600 and put it toward their mortgage if they wanted to. So there could be some different options and benefits. Not that I'm selling mortgage insurance, doesn't matter to me either way that they go, but it's just good to have some options. So here's a good comparison of the seller paid, the buyer paid. We have that under control. Add it to the loan amount, gives you the increase of monthly payment with MI compared to some of those other options of $131 a month. But again, it saves them $15,000. Or again, for $1,660, they could do the same thing. So here's a good breakdown of all your options. So if you want to take a screenshot of this page, you could do that. We'll be sending you out another copy, a recording of this webinar, and it'll also have the deck included. And you can refer to it at any time, or you can send it to buyers. They can take a look at this too. But this is a good breakdown of everything and in your savings. So key takeaways, don't worry about, when buyers come up with the objections of the cash to close for that buyer agency fee and increasing it, just have this kind of in your back pocket that you can, pull out and say, hey, yeah, if you're coming up with the total amount to buy this house, between your down payment, your closing costs, your mortgage. So my fee, it kind of always did come from you anyway, even though in the past, sellers have been paying this fee. Now they have the option of not paying that fee, but most still do. But should they not pay it, here are some options for you. When you talk to my lender, they can go over your specific scenario, your specific costs, the exact amount of additional monthly mortgage insurance or what the loan amount's going to do or one-time mortgage insurance. And they can tell you exactly what the additional money is going to cost. And again, it might not be the full 15,000. It might just be the extra, 5% or 1% in your transaction. So, if someone's only offering 2%, instead of just saying, yeah, I'll take 2%, keep this keep this in mind so that you can recoup that extra 1% and not have it come out of the buyer's pocket if you can, or if they balk about that. So that's just another little summary recap we just talked about. So any questions? Sure.
Dave, can you go back to the previous slide?
Sure. Yep.
And then Linda just asked, just to recap what option number 3 was. So, David?
So if we go back to this slide, option number 3 is adding it to the sales price, just like seller concessions. Yeah, so adding it to the sales price, we're going to change the purchase price to $515. With the last scenario, you're leaving it at $515. So there's really no restructuring of that when you're doing it. So the only kind of non-apples to apples in this scenario is number 1, the seller's paying that $15,000. So really they're netting $485, where scenario number 2 is $500,000. The buyer's paying the $15,000, so the seller's netting $500,000. Option 3, the seller's paying netting $500,000, and option 4, the seller's netting $500,000. So really, that seller paid in the front should be a $515, but we can work on those numbers and see what the monthly payment differences are. But it's about the same if you think about it, option 1 and option 3. To net the same to the seller. So, you know what I mean? Yeah, 485 if the seller paid. Yep. The 500 minus the 15,000. Yeah. Great.
Any other questions?
Well, it's great to see you all here. And you guys are so quiet out there. I can't believe there's no questions.
The 20 people.
Well, we're around if you need us, so certainly give us a call on this or anything else. If you have any questions on financing, certainly give us a call. We'd love to help, and we look forward to the next one. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
See ya.
Thank you.
See you guys later.
Bye, Arlene. Bye, Holly. Bye.